Instead of turning around and fleeing, the captain ordered the ship to close in on it and attempt to capture it and bring it back to base as indisputable evidence of their encounter. That dude's fucking crazy. Cannonballs and harpoons fired on it had no effect and simply bounced off its rubbery skin. The crew of the robust ship, the Seafarer, set sail on a perilous voyage across the vast, unpredictable sea. Aye, they were seasoned sailors, accustomed to braving the elements, but nothing prepared them for the terror that lay ahead. As the sun began to set, it painted the sky with hues of orange and pink. A sense of concern settled on the ship. Dark clouds loomed on the horizon, foreshadowing the imminent danger. The sailors braced themselves knowing that they were going straight into the heart of a treacherous storm. Within moments, the tempest unleashed its fury on the vessel. The waves surged with an unrelenting force, crashing against the hull and threatening to send the whole ship down to the bottom of the ocean. Thunder roared overhead, accompanied by blinding flashes of lightning that illuminated the chaos. Among the commotion, a massive tentacle emerged from the depths, as if summoned by the storm itself. The Kraken had chosen this moment to reveal itself. Rising from the turbulent sea with an insatiable hunger, aye, its massive form towered over the ship, its monstrous eyes focused on its prey. Desperation seized the crew as they fought with all their might to stop the Kraken's grasp. But the creature's strength was too much. Its tentacles snaked around the ship, squeezing it with a bone-crushing grip. Sailors fought heroically, but their efforts were in vain against the colossal might of the Kraken. One by one, the crew succumbed to the merciless grip of the sea beast. They were dragged into the depths of Davy Jones' locker. Their cries were lost in the howling wind and the crashing waves. The ship, once a symbol of resilience, now a mere toy in the Kraken's monstrous clutches. In the end, the ship, with its remaining few souls on board, succumbed to the relentless assault. It was pulled beneath the churning waves. Lost to the depths, along with the valiant sailors who had fought bravely but had fallen victim to the Kraken's wrath. Aye, the once vibrant ship was reduced to debris, scattered on the surface of the violent sea. The Kraken, satisfied for the moment, vanished into the depths, leaving behind only a haunting silence. The tragic tale of the seafarer serves as a somber hint of the ruthless power of the Kraken, a reminder that even the mightiest of vessels can be humbled by the unforgiving force of this beast. May their story be remembered as a testament to the dangers that await those who dare to venture into the realm of the Kraken. In the vast field of nautical folklore, few creatures capture the imagination quite like the legendary Kraken. Born from ancient folklore and seafaring tales, The Kraken has fascinated folks for centuries with its incredible power and awe-inspiring presence. The first documented account of the Kraken dates back to a manuscript from 1180. It was described by Norway's king Sverre as a stupendously large monster. It was even big enough to be confused for an island. It prowled the waters surrounding Iceland, waiting for its next victim. Similar accounts of the Kraken can be traced to Scandinavian folklore, particularly in Norse mythology. Within these ancient tales, the Kraken was described as a creature of immense size, lurking in the deep and treacherous waters of the North Atlantic. It was said to possess the power to stir up mighty storms and create formidable whirlpools that consume ships. Its name is derived from the Old Norse word Kraken, which means twisted and crooked pole, as opposed to crikey, which is what you say when you see it. As time passed, the legend of the Kraken spread beyond the borders of Scandinavia. It found its way into the naval folklore of cultures around the world, from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean. This colossal cephalopod-like creature has been described in various accounts as a behemoth with tentacles that can reach astounding lengths. The belief in the monster became so strong that the Kraken could be found in Europe's first modern scientific surveys of the natural world in the 18th century. Not even Carl Linnaeus, the father of the system of organizing living organisms into species and genus groups, could avoid it. He included the Kraken among the cephalopod mollusks in the first edition of his groundbreaking biological classification book, Systema Naturae, in 1735. Sailors reported of its ability to capsize ships and swallow everything in its path. The mere mention of the Kraken struck fear into the hearts of seafarers, and its reputation grew as the legend spread across the nautical world. The stories varied in their details, but the core elements remained the same. An immense, tentacled sea monster capable of drowning sailors and destroying their vessels. Legends claim that it silently waits for unsuspecting vessels off the coast of Norway and Greenland, ready to unleash its immense strength and enormous size on them. Its massive tentacles have the power to topple even the mightiest of ships, making it a formidable and deadly adversary. As tales of the Kraken exceeded oral tradition and found their way into literature, art, and popular culture, its enduring appeal solidified. Renowned authors, Jules Verne and H.P. Lovecraft, embraced the legend, breathing new life into the monster through their works, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and The Call of Cthulhu, respectively. Also, shows like the Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, The Clash of the Titans, both 1981 and 2010, and The Game of Thrones keep alive the mystique and terror of the Kraken, embedding it into the collective imagination of generations to come. In the modern era, as scientific knowledge of the ocean has deepened, the opinion of the Kraken shifted from a captivating myth to a terrifying reality. The exploration of the ocean's depths and advancements in marine biology have uncovered true monsters of the deep, confirming the bizarre tales surrounding the Kraken. We'll get into that in a little bit. Yet, despite its transformation from a feared legend to a realistic sea monster, the Kraken continues to fascinate and capture the imagination. It remains a lasting symbol of the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of the sea. This colossal creature lives on the bottom of the ocean, shrouded in mystery and terror. Descriptions of the Kraken vary, but common elements emerge from the encounters told throughout history. The Kraken is often portrayed as an immense and fearsome being, far exceeding the size of any known creature. Most liken it to a giant octopus or crab. At times, even a combination of the two. A crabtopus? Some accounts describe the Kraken as reaching hundreds of feet in length, with a hulking body that can dwarf even the largest of ships. One of the most prominent features attached to the Kraken is its multiple long and powerful tentacles. Its arms, often numbering in double digits, are said to be capable of wrapping around vessels with a vice-like grip. The mere sight of these coiling limbs, like immense serpents emerging from the depths, stirs a primal fear. The Kraken's physical appearance is often described as supernatural. Its skin is said to be rough and textured, resembling the gnarled bark of ancient trees. Its basketball-sized eyes, deep and piercing, hold a mesmerizing gaze that seems to reflect the bottomless depths it calls home. The Kraken is portrayed with sharp, dagger-like teeth and spines that adorn its monstrous, sucker-clad tentacles for additional holding power, adding to its intimidating presence. Legends also attribute extraordinary powers to the Kraken. It's said to possess the ability to create tumultuous storms and conjure formidable whirlpools capable of engulfing entire ships and crews. Its mastery over the elements fuels the notion that the Kraken is the essence of the untamed forces of nature itself, a true force of destruction. It feeds off of entire schools of fish by releasing a foul-smelling substance into the water. Some fishermen would even risk an encounter with the Kraken by fishing in these schools of fish due to the bountiful amount they could catch. Man, I think I'd just take up another profession. Whether the Kraken is a product of vivid imagination, exaggerated tales, or an undiscovered creature of the deep sea remains a subject of speculation. Nevertheless, the Kraken's legend persists, captivating the human imagination and serving as a testament to the enduring fascination with the mysteries that lie beneath the ocean's surface. In the 13th century Norse saga, Orvaroddr, the Kraken was depicted as a colossal creature, easily surpassing the size of any ship. Described with numerous tentacles capable of capturing and dragging vessels into the abyss. These accounts solidified the Kraken's reputation as an unstoppable force of the sea. In the narrative, the encounter involves Orvaroddr facing a massive sea serpent during one of his voyages. As the sea monster attacks the ship, a fierce battle ensues. Orvaroddr demonstrates his skill and resourcefulness as a warrior, employing strategic movements to outmaneuver the serpent's attacks. The story highlights Orvaroddr's bravery and quick thinking in the face of this formidable opponent. He sounds like Sinbad, don't he? Despite the serpent's size and ferocity, our marauder manages to find a vulnerable spot and delivers a fatal blow, ultimately killing the creature. His victory over the Kraken not only saves his crew and ship from destruction, but also solidifies his reputation as a legendary hero. The first documented sightings of the Kraken were in a book written by Bishop Eric Pontoppidan in 1753 called The Natural History of Norway. He wrote how local seamen unanimously and consistently confirm in their accounts the very real dangers of the Kraken. The vast majority of folks described it as flat, round, and had many arms. Its size was enormous, rivaled by no animal known. Another riveting face-to-face encounter with the beast dates back to 1861, when a lookout of the French ship the Electron saw a large mass floating in the water near the Canary Islands. Once the ship got closer, it was identified as a massive, long, tentacled monster. The ship's captain immediately said it was the legendary Kraken. Instead of turning around and fleeing, the captain ordered the ship to close in on it and attempt to capture it and bring it back to base as indisputable evidence of their encounter. That dude's fucking crazy. You know, the things people will do to get views. Unfortunately, despite 3 hours of battling with the Kraken, the slithery creature slipped through the snare they had fashioned out of rope. Even though they didn't capture the beast, they did come back with some interesting details on it. They recalled it as being brick red in color, with a body 18 feet in length and tentacles adding another 18 feet. Its weight was approximately 2 tons. Cannonballs and harpoons fired on it had no effect and simply bounced off its rubbery skin. It would submerge momentarily with each passing volley and re-emerge a few moments later to engage the crew. After several hours of continuous struggle, a cannonball found its mark and stunned the creature. A rope was tied around the Kraken's body, but it was too heavy. The rope cut into the beast's flesh. All but the tip of the tail slipped away into the ocean's depths. Just the tip. In 1948, the frigate Daedalus encountered a sea monster that the sailors estimated to be at least 60 feet long, which caused a sensation. Well, that's one way to put it. Sir Richard Owen, the man who invented the word dinosaur, argued that they saw a seal, which led to a long-standing argument between Owen and the captain of the Daedalus, who pointed out that they knew full well what a seal looked like. I would hope so. There were similar observations in 1845 that Owen also dismissed, until 1873, when a fisherman caught a giant squid. Then Owen was forced to admit he was wrong. Fucking trolls. I bet he never apologized. In 1896, a large sea creature carcass washed ashore in St. Augustine, Florida. Measuring 18 feet long and 7 feet wide, the pale pink carcass had a silver reflection. It was composed of a hard, rubbery substance that resisted cutting. Estimated to weigh 5 tons, it had 4 stub-like tentacles for arms, one buried nearby, each measuring 23 feet long. The creature's head, the size of a wooden barrel, featured trunk-like tubes near its mouth and another on top. Partial tentacles measuring 15 feet each were found on each side of the head. The tail had 2 more 30-foot long tentacles. In total, it had 8 tentacles, like an octopus. If the 8 arms held the proportions usually seen in normal-sized species of the octopus and weren't chewed down by sea life, each one would have been at least 75 to 100 feet in length and about 18 inches in diameter at the base. Goddamn. Which means it would have had a whopping 200-foot wingspan. That's a Kraken. Recently, in January of 2021, a couple was walking along the shoreline on the northeast Atlantic coast when they heard a loud scream in the distance. When they looked in the direction they heard the sound, they saw several large tentacles sticking up out of the ocean in the distance. The girl pulled out her phone and started shooting video of it. The reddish-colored tentacles were huge and moving around randomly in the air as the odd screaming sound continued. This next one isn't a sighting, but could be proof that the Kraken exists. Ichthyosaur bones have recently been discovered in patterns very similar to the way that octopuses place the bones of their meals. Even more intriguing, one discovered rib cage of the prehistoric beast showed signs of constriction, as if a large tentacle was wrapped around it. Ichthyosaurs were pretty hefty creatures. Some were as long as 30 feet. So it would take a very large cephalopod to catch and eat it. During that time period, I'd be surprised if there wasn't a Kraken. When it comes to explanations for the Kraken, well, there's only a few, and some seem to overlap. The first is misidentification. It suggests that sightings of actual but rarely seen marine creatures could have contributed to the Kraken legends. Giant squids being the main ones. Giant squids are known to inhabit the deep ocean. These squids can grow to incredible sizes, 300 to 600 pounds, with lengths up to 43 feet or even larger. Encounters with giant squids, which have large eyes and tentacle-like appendages, could have easily been mistaken for the Kraken. It was first videotaped in 2012 at an astounding depth of 2,950 feet off the coast of Japan. In the summer of 2019, one was filmed 100 miles off the coast of New Orleans, making it the first time a giant squid was captured on film in American waters. Apart from giant squids, other large marine creatures, such as whales or basking sharks, could have been misinterpreted or exaggerated in early accounts. For instance, when a decomposing whale carcass floats to the surface, it can appear monstrous and evoke fears of a gigantic sea monster, until you poke it. In the past, a lack of understanding of the deep sea ecosystem, coupled with the evolution of stories through word of mouth, may have led to exaggerated accounts of encounters with extraordinary creatures. Kraken sightings can also be explained through symbolism, which represents the power and danger of the ocean, human vulnerability, and the fear of the unknown in the depths of the sea. Natural phenomena such as whirlpools or geologic disturbances on the seafloor could have contributed to stories of a massive creature causing turbulent waters.
Like when you see bubbles while you're fishing and automatically assume it's a turtle or something, only on a bigger scale. Additionally, atmospheric conditions could have been misinterpreted as evidence of the Kraken's existence. Some examples of this are weather phenomena. Unusual weather conditions like storms or heavy fog can create an environment of poor visibility and disorientation. In these circumstances, sailors may misinterpret natural phenomena such as the Kraken. This damn rain, I blame the Kraken. Large waves crashing against the ship's hull also generate loud and unsettling noises, adding to the illusion of a monstrous creature lurking beneath the surface. Optical illusions, the bending of light due to the presence of mirages, can distort the appearance of objects, making them seem larger and more menacing than they actually are. These visual distortions, combined with the fear and anticipation of encountering a legendary monster, could lead sailors to believe they witnessed the Kraken. Some marine organisms, such as certain species of plankton or jellyfish, are capable of bioluminescence, the production of light. When these organisms are abundant, they can create mesmerizing displays of glowing lights in the water, commonly known as bioluminescent blooms. In the dark of night, these glowing organisms appear eerie and unfamiliar, potentially contributing to sightings of sea creatures like the Kraken. Could you imagine the Kraken with glow sticks? Our deep-sea exploration of the legendary Kraken comes to a watery end, revealing the fascinating truths behind this phenomenal creature. We've journeyed through the realms of folklore, history, and scientific study, uncovering the origins and mysteries that shroud the Kraken. From ancient sagas to modern research, we've glimpsed the encounters and legends that birthed the Kraken's tales. Natural phenomena like whirlpools, optical illusions, and rare marine creatures have woven themselves into the fabric of these stories, magnifying the creature's awe-inspiring qualities. As we conclude this deep dive, the Kraken stands as a symbol of the immense power and unpredictable nature of the sea. It embodies our vulnerability and the mysteries that lie beneath the waves, capturing our imagination throughout the ages. This exploration has deepened our appreciation for the meshing of myth and reality, revealing the enduring fascination with the uncharted depths of the ocean. The Kraken continues to ignite our curiosity about the mysteries that lie beneath. As the ocean's depths reclaim their ancient secrets, remember that beneath that tranquil surface, the Kraken slumbers. Its malevolent presence will forever feed our deepest fears. Thank you for joining me on this nautical nightmare, and thank you very much for watching this far into my video. It seems to me the Kraken is real. It's a misidentified giant squid. Everything matches up except one thing. Giant squids don't attack ships. Maybe it's some kind of rogue subspecies of giant squid. Or it could be some yet undiscovered species of giant octopus. With only 5% of the oceans being explored, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if something similar to the Kraken was discovered later on. The next time you go out in the ocean, keep your eyes open. You never know what you might spot sticking up out of the water.